What's up, everyone? Tag a friend and let them know we're about to get into it.
Welcome to the Speak Her Podcast with your host, Camille Essick, the podcast where creators and innovators connect. Let's get started.
Help keep the Speaker Podcast ad-free. Hit the link below and buy me a coffee. Your support keeps the podcast free of interruptions while bringing you more impactful conversations.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Please share this and tag a friend who needs to hear this.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. This is Camille Essick. I'm host of the Speaker Podcast, the podcast where innovators and critics connect. Be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe. I'm across all multiple platforms, including iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Pandora. Y'all, some exciting news. The music that you heard, I wrote that myself with a little help with AI, and I have a playlist I'm curating. It's available on my YouTube channel and streaming across various platforms. And I have 3 music videos I've created with AI as well, with all original music written by me. Y'all, we are almost at 11,000 downloads with the podcast across all the platforms. I'm so excited about that. And I would love to hear from you. You can also send me an email at thespeakerpodcast@gmail.com. Without further ado, my friend and brother is here, the Antwan Aiken. We just have had an amazing connection over the last few years. And so anytime he comes, it's such a great time. And Antwan, thank you for coming. And just to let you know, anytime you're here, particularly with men, they're like, oh, I love that conversation. I love how you're talking about mental health for Black men. It's such a necessary conversation. So I wanted you to know that, like, people do ask me about you anytime you're here and we have this conversation. So welcome back.
It's good to be back. Always good to be back home is what it feels like. And congratulations on the music. That was a gem that you didn't even tell me about. So that was a surprise.
Yeah, because I mean, some things have happened since you weren't here. So yes, I started with tapping into the music because I wanted to expand the Speaker Podcast experience. And I was like, how can I do that? So I started taking episodes, flipping them into songs. And so I have like 6 or 7 songs out now. I'm actually in the process of doing a video for Delulu, which I'll send you the song after we get off of here this evening. And I'm hoping to get that video done between tonight and tomorrow. And I want to drop it by the weekend. And yeah, so I'm just loving the whole musicality of what I'm doing. And people are like, you write? Well, I've been writing poetry since I was 14. And then I stopped and I started back and I was like, girl, you have a pen, use it. And so what people don't know, when I was at MTSU in college, I worked at one of the home shopping networks there. And the guys and I used to actually battle rap via email on the instant messaging on the side between orders. So I used to do bars with the fellas. And they was like, oh, she can write. And so I was like, you forget that you can do it. And so I got back into it. I was like, okay. And so my number 1 song right now is Checkmate. And it firstly was for a female artist, but I was like, what if I take the lyrics but have a man sing it? Because it's different when a man sings about heartbreak. It hits a little differently. And so when a man is vulnerable, it kind of tugs on your heart a little bit more. So I'll just send you the playlist. You can check it out. And I love the fact that I can ride to my own music. Like, that's cool.
What can you not do?
You know, my pastor says we are both in. And honestly, and this is probably a part of our conversation tonight. Honestly, Antwan, I think we're all like packaging and we have so many giftings, but we have to take the time to like explore ourselves. And there's so much more that we don't know we can do. And I think scientifically, the statistics say that we only use 10% of our brain. So imagine if we tap into another 0.5%.
That is crazy that we only use 10% of our
Barely.
brain.
The average human being only uses about 10% of their brain. So imagine the people that we consider genius, they're about 12%. So like if we can do this and think about everything that humankind has done with only 10%. We're not even scraping the surface of our capabilities.
And then I think about like people that are easily distracted and how much like those distractions take away from their optimal potential. Okay, that got me thinking now.
Like that cell phone and social media, if you put it down, if you listen to most artists, musicians, your favorite singers, a lot of them will tell you. Like I was listening to an interview with Missy Elliott, and they were like, "Oh, who do you listen to right now?" And she was like, "I really don't listen to anybody." And they were like, "Well, why not?" And she said, "Because I don't want it to contaminate my creativity. And so when I create my sounds, I want it to be original and not influenced by anyone or anything else."
Ah, like that's interesting.
Yep, yep. And so as we slide into this conversation, for those that don't know you, just to recap, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do. And shout out to the TikTok family tapping in. I see y'all over there. Hey.
Hey, TikTok family. I'm still trying to get into TikTok. It's so hard to teach an old dog new tricks. Like,
You act like you a unk. Like, come on. You still outside. Whatever.
I'm trying to. But Antwan Aiken, I am a licensed therapist, but I'm also an entrepreneur in the restaurant industry. And I have a nonprofit, the Aiken Foundation, where we really reinvest back into minority and marginalized communities. So we be the change that we a lot of times ask other people to help us with. We want to be the people that help within our own community.
I love it. First of all, shout out to the Aiken Foundation. You all host an amazing event every year. It's the one time I come outside.
One time you come outside.
But it's so much fun. And this is like year 3 or 4 for me. And when you start to come, I feel like I'm a regular at this point.
Regular energy for sure.
Yes. And it's like certain people, we start looking for each other every year now. It's like, where's so and so? Oh, they didn't make it this year. You'd be like, oh. But I do message with Jacal on Instagram from time. He is hilarious.
Like, yeah, and Mark already said that he's not going to be able to make it because that's on Terrence's
birthday. Yes, I did reach out, but there's just some of those people that you see every year, and it's like, oh yeah. But you know, I put myself in a curfew because y'all know Camille going to church.
You know, we party all night.
Man, I take my selfies, like praise the Lord, saints, church finger, I'm out.
It's the way it need to be.
Yes. So also, I just feel like every year you all have done this amazing events for your foundation. It's gotten bigger and better. Like last year was so beautiful. It was a different venue, but it was pretty. Like I love the Winter Wonderland and just how you have sponsors there. And weren't you all like 40 under 40 in Atlanta?
30
last year. 30 under 30 or 40?
30 under 30 a few years ago though.
Yeah. So it's just an amazing event. And then the cause, I really believe in that. Just raising money for Black and Brown students at HBCUs there in the AUC, I think is amazing. And I just cannot wait to see what you all do next. So it's really cool.
Look, pray for us. Vision and resources.
Yes. And so now we're going to get into the podcast. If y'all haven't done so, please go to YouTube and like, share, and subscribe. We are working to push the build up. And people don't understand, building a YouTube audience is not easy. It's like, it's work. Like getting those subscribers is work. So y'all go over there, support, and subscribe. And we're going to get right into the reason why you're here tonight, Antwan. And we're always here. This is a continuation of our conversation regarding Black men and mental health. And one of the things we just saw this week in the news with the passing of NFL player Marshawn Kneeland. He was right in the beginning of his second season with the Dallas Cowboys. And he had an interaction with DPD there. And it resulted in him taking his life. And those around him did express he did have ideations prior to. And so he acted on it. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring that up is because there's such a major impact for Black men in particular, holding like these unspoken struggles and not having space to be vulnerable, to express their fear and emotion and their needs. And so I really want you to, Antwan, to really, for those tuning in, really begin to impact how serious that is as far as with Black men having those struggles and not having room to express them.
Yes, I think that that is such a very serious issue. And I think that one of the things that we have to look at when we think about suicidality and what that has always meant to the Black community, we always saw it as a problem that other communities had. We never saw it as a problem that we had. We always thought, oh, well, other races do that, but Black people don't do that. And now we're seeing, I mean, I would hate to call it a trend, but adolescence, I believe it's either the number one or number two cause of death is death by suicide. That's crazy. Our young people are just making determinations that it's just easier to not be here than to deal with all of the stuff that they have to deal with in life. Mm-hmm. And I think that particularly with Black men, and I say this all the time, but I think it's worth always rehashing and it's worth saying over and over, because I feel like that is what will normalize the feeling that can sometimes feel a little bit taboo, is that there is a lot of social pressure that Black men feel when we navigate society. And a lot of that pressure is not something that we ask for. It's not something that we volunteer for, but it's pressure that is socially assigned to us. And we feel like we have to live up to that pressure. We feel like we have to always have the right answers. You know, we have to always have the right amount of resources. And sometimes when we don't have those things, we just kind of fold under the pressure, and that can look different ways. You know, that can look like serious mental health issues, that can look like homelessness, job insecurity. All of these things that plague our community can really start from somebody just not having that person or village that can really support them when they're going through a difficult time.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I saw, it was actually Prophetess Barbara Calloway. She posted last week on her Instagram, which I didn't know was a thing, adolescents selecting a date. And they would post it on social media saying, I picked a date.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't know what it meant until I read her caption, her copy. And I said, they're really doing this. And so, like you said, I don't even understand why that's training with young people, but I wonder how that's even impacting our young Black boys between like prepubescent up until early 20s, and just the different stages of what that may look like and things we don't recognize in our Black boys. If they're a teenager, then maybe early 20s, 30s, like for each decade of that age group, and understanding really where does that pressure begin? Does it start when they're 13, 15 with this expectation to perform or be an athlete? Or is it in college? You know, when we see a decline in Black men graduating from college now, but there's always like different earmarks with each demographic where it seems like these pinpoints with Black men and mental health are not being addressed, and it's just are not even talked about.
Yeah, I think it would even start earlier than that in terms of just the social pressure. So I know growing up, this whole idea around expressing emotion was just not something that was encouraged. So if I was sad, the perception was always to toughen up. Don't cry, be a man about it. And these are things that we grew up hearing these things, and now as an adult, we may not think much about it. But what does that do to a kid? What does that teach that kid that's constantly told that anytime that they express emotion, they're soft, or they're not being a man, or they need to toughen up, or in a lot of times in a single parent household, especially if it's a woman-headed single parent household, there may be this perception that you now have to be the man of the house, but you're like 8 or 9. And that's not necessarily a role that you asked for, a role that you volunteered for, a role that you may even be ready for. And, we say a lot of these things and we may say them kind of off the cuff as like, well, I don't literally mean the man of the house, but we manifest a lot of these things. And then those things become identities within us. And we carry that into our adulthood, and we carry that into our relationships that we have as an adult.
That's true. And by you saying that made me think of the word adultification and how within our community we're so quick to adult our children so soon, especially with
Mhm.
boys, little man, you're the man of the house now, or even from a toxic standpoint to where the single mom kind of treats the son like it's her man.
Yeah.
And it can cause problems in relationships when he begins to date or even get married. And
Hmm.
so, can you kind of unpack how dangerous that is? I understand you want your son to be responsible, but there's that gray area to where you're crossing the line where you've now adultified, and maybe even there's um his role kind of gets misconstrued here.
I think it can be very dangerous only because kids have different stages of development that they're supposed to go through.
Mhm.
And when you kind of skip a stage before that kid is really ready, then they lose all of the skills that they otherwise would have gained. So before they're the man of the house, they need to learn things like self-esteem
Mhm.
and confidence and self-control and anger management. All of those are skills that we start teaching toddlers. We teach toddlers don't hit somebody, don't violate people's space. This is good touch, bad touch, calm down. We teach toddlers that, and throughout childhood, we reinforce some of those same elements. You're beautiful, you're handsome. That's building up self-esteem,
Mhm.
self-confidence. But when you don't take the time to really cultivate that, and when you just skip to, okay, now you're the man of the house, like all of those other skills that I otherwise would be teaching you, I'm going to skip to you being a man of the house, then you don't have those skills. So you grow up and you're a man, and on the outside it looks very polished aesthetically. You may have it all going on, but on the inside you have no confidence, or you may not have any self-esteem or no self-control, because you weren't really given an opportunity in childhood to really cultivate and practice those skills. So
Mhm.
that's the other thing, is that skills have to be practiced. Like, even when we think about us as an adult, when we start a new job, we become good at something because we practice it and we refine our skill. It's the same thing for those kids. And I think at a very young age, and I can certainly say this from personal experience, some of those themes about what it means to be a man just kept coming up, and you start adopting them. And then when you become an adult, you either come to the realization like, oh, like I don't know if I really have the outlet that I need to express myself, or you just continue navigating life without that realization, and that could cause issues.
Yeah, and then what do you think about, and we keep unpacking this, and I feel like it's so necessary as far as societal expectations, particularly for Black men, and what that really looks like in the line, because when we pull the gender back, we're looking at a person. And then we wanna add race on top of the gender, and then that compounds it, right? But when we strip the genderism away and the race away, and we're just dealing with the human being, where do we hold space for our Black men to just be humans and have a space where it's healthy for them to share and unpack and be vulnerable and to discuss and share, and they're not being weaponized or their sexuality is not being questioned, like, "I don't know, he kinda sweet." Like, all this craziness, like, where do we begin with that?
Yeah, I mean, even to answer the first part of your question, I think that society expects Black men to be so strong with the least amount of resources.
Mm,
So we are expected to be really, really strong, and we're expected to just thrive in situations that may be impossible, but we have the least amount of resources. We can be very unprotected in a lot of ways. Our interactions with law enforcement, our interactions with the healthcare system,
mhm,
our interactions with mental health or lack thereof, like all of these systems that other people may feel comfortable accessing, we kind of are excluded granted, we self-exclude from some of those systems, but then some of those systems, we don't have a choice. When you look at the school to prison pipeline, which is kind of a pipeline of young Black boys from school straight to jail, that is something that is well documented. That's not a hypothesis. At this point, we know that there is a school to prison pipeline that exists that make it more likely that young Black boys will transition straight from school to somebody's jail or prison. Those are things that it's a contradiction. I can't be this strong person when I have this over criminalization in my community. I'm constantly getting arrested. I'm constantly getting all of these infractions. Things like child support, which I think if you father a kid, you should have to take care of your kid. But that can be a never-ending cycle. And, that can be a situation where it's like now neither one of us win. Neither the parent that's left with the kid isn't getting any resources. The parent that is in jail isn't getting any resources. They're getting a record. I think that all of those things exist. And then to your second point, where you talked about where do we create space, I think that we create space by being the space that we want. And we start having those conversations. Me and you both are part of Black families. And I believe you're from the South, right?
Yes, I'm from Tennessee.
Okay, I
Nashville,
so.
exactly. Oh, yeah, I'm from Nashville. So, yeah.
Oh, I love Nashville. Country city, country music city.
It's Music City. We take the country off.
I'll take the country.
It's just Music
Love
City.
Tennessee.
Because over half of the music industry, sidebar, they record their music in Nashville. Jill Scott lives there. She lives out in Brentwood. Lauryn Hill did half of her album Miseducation at Music Row. So
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we can go with Music City.
Yes.
I think that, in our families, there's a lot of things that just aren't talked about and things that are kept quiet. And we do that to protect everybody else, but then we are actually hurting inside. I think the solution is we got to start talking about it. We got to start bringing up topics, even if it's difficult for everybody in a room. We got to start being the healing that we want to see in our community. And I'm saying that to you, and I'm saying that on this platform, but I'm also saying that to myself, because there's a lot of conversations that I can have with people in my family that I just haven't had. And what is not having that conversation doing to me? Am I really able to heal? Am I really able to show up as the man that I want to be, not having these conversations about things that have had significant impact throughout my childhood and even in my adult life?
Absolutely. I love that. And even as you've been here season after season, and even offline our conversations, I love how it's opened the door even for you to explore other areas for healing for yourself and your other male counterparts. So when you see spaces like this, what do you think is needed more to cultivate more environments like this?
I think more allies. When you look at just even in history, we're a minority group. And even in history, a lot of minority groups weren't able to do it by themselves. They had to have some buy-in from the majority group. So I think that people other than Black men need to also get involved and realize that it's a problem, because even if you aren't a Black male, you know one, or you interact with one, or you work with one. In various capacities. So it needs to be an issue that it's not just on Black men, it's on all of us to create that environment where Black men can be vulnerable and not feel uncomfortable or not feel like they're not going to be received well or that they're not going to be heard.
That's good. I try, and I know someone has asked me in times past, like, why do you have these spaces? You're not a Black man. But like you said, my grandfather, men in my family, people around me, you, And it's just, I've seen the need, and I was like, why not? And it started because when I began podcasting, initially I was like, okay, this will be a space for Black women to speak on what we have to deal with. But then it was like, you know what, Antoine, we have so many resources. We have each other and salons and girls trip and power boss babe brunches, like all these things. And so I did a series, I think it was season 2 of the podcast, the whole month of June, and I call it The King and I. And every week I had a Black man on to discuss relationships, mental health. And I got so much feedback like, "Oh man, we love this." And I was just like, "Let me just open the door and just create the space, and that way we can both have a space within the podcast to talk about these things." And it has blossomed to even when I just did Heart and Soul last week, where I had the panel discussion with the brothers, and that's not a one-time deal. Like, and you've been around and you've seen that. And hosting these panels with the brothers to talk about these things, I feel like it's so necessary. And I can, I'm not pandering. I just feel like you all need something. We need it too, because when we hear you heal for Black women, that helps us as well. And I think we're better collectively as a culture when our men are stronger. I don't remember who said it, but it was like, it's easier to heal a child than try to mend a broken adult.
Oh, that is so true.
Yeah.
That is so true. By the time we get to adulthood, a lot of things, we have already normalized a lot of things.
It's locked in. Yeah.
It's locked in, and it's, we of course can recognize some of the things that are toxic, and we can try to change our behavior, but some of those experiences are things that just stick with us.
Mm-hmm. It's good. So what do you see, like when we see Dr. Jay Barnett or Jason Wilson doing amazing work out here? And I think it's Just Heal Bro. I think there's another one I follow on Instagram. I think it's Black Men Health. There's a couple. Then even our brother Darren Lindsay, with his campaign of Black men go to the doctor, which is another important component when we look at culturally Black people not going to the doctor, and then that number being even higher for Black men that don't go to the doctor within the demographic. Like, that's another set of statistics. And so I just feel like it's imperative that I continue to do this. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I continue to want to bring you all along for the ride. But I just want to put a dent in this and continue to have these spaces for you all to have a safe space to talk where it's not being weaponized, and to do my best I can as an ally, and to be what I desire as well. So
yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I think that this topic is one that is being discussed a lot, and I do think that some spaces are being created, and I think that that's a positive thing. I think that's a very positive thing. And I think that also when you see a Black male being vulnerable, or even groups of Black male being vulnerable, representation is everything. Like, I want to see myself in everything. That's how that's just how we're wired. That's how we know our possibility, and that's how we know what is or what isn't acceptable. Even as much as we like to say, I'm a trendsetter. You can be a trendsetter, but you also want to see yourself in other people. Mm-hmm. And I think that is when you see other people doing it, it becomes more of a normal thing. Well, if he can do it, I can do it too. Absolutely. Or if he can overcome that, then I can overcome that too.
Absolutely. And then, Antwan, first of all, if you all are getting something from this conversation, please let us know. Hit that notification bell and subscribe. If you're on TikTok, make sure you're following me, and then slide over to YouTube and subscribe there. So, Antwan, as we turn the corner in this conversation, what do you see as far as what is practical in terms of encouragement, and then other things that you feel like to be deemed necessary in prioritizing mental health for Black men?
In terms of what's practical, in terms of encouragement, I think that just being real creating an environment where we can have real conversation and that I don't feel like I'm going to be judged or I'm going to be marginalized or anything. So I think that is encouraging. If I feel like I can say anything and that nobody is going to gas or I'm not going to offend anybody and I can say it in the way that I say it in a way that I'm comfortable saying, using my vernacular, if I feel like I can do those things, that encourages me to want to share more and to want to engage more.
That's good. Um, I think when I think about hearing Marshawn Nealon losing his life and the family or those around him, what I read this week, in the last couple 48 hours, whatever, and they're like, oh, well, he had communicated feelings about doing this before. And I wonder, and of course, there's some things we just won't know, but I wonder how long this had been happening, what flags were missed. Did they not take him seriously? And I think today or yesterday, his girlfriend announced that she was pregnant with his child, and
I
so,
saw that.
yeah, and so I'm just like, you're where so many black men that play sports want to be. And the percentage of making it to the NFL, making it to a team like the Cowboys, you know, good or bad, hate them or love them, they're an NFL team, period, right?
Mhm.
And to be in your second season, having your first tackle, like every little boy's dream that plays football is to make it. And it seems like you have everything, but yet there's something within that drives you to that point. And we go, why? Nice looking kid, like has what we think has everything, but there was something within him that he felt like I can't do this anymore.
And I think that's probably the most powerful part. And I feel like a lot of times that we look at other people and we have a lot of assumptions around what their life is, what they're dealing with,
Mhm.
and we compare ourselves to those people, but you never know that person's struggle. And I think that assuming that somebody is good because of what they present on the outside is a wrong assumption. And I feel
Yeah.
like these scenarios really teach and reinforce us that same point that we need to make sure that the black men that we have in our life, that we're doing those check-ins. And that check-in may not look like, hey, are you having any thoughts of wanting to kill yourself? That can be a little pathologizing. So that may not be the right kind of check-in. But that check-in could just be, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Allowing that person to just answer that question free flowing. What are some things that, like, what's keeping you up at night? What are some things that is stressing you out during the day? And really asking those thought-provoking questions, because I know that for me, I'm the person that was suffering in silence. If I was going through something, and I've been through things, of course, like everybody else, I'm still gonna go out a lot. I'm still gonna be the party guy. I'm still gonna show up, professionally. I'm still gonna do everything, but behind closed doors, I'm really suffering. And a lot of times I am one of those people, and this isn't necessarily a good or bad thing, but situations that I go through are better understood when they're behind me. So by operating with that mindset, I tend to hold things in until they're done. And then I'll tell, a friend, this is what I've been going through for the last year. And they'll be like, why didn't you tell me? I'm like, you didn't ask. And it just wasn't a topic that I was just going to bring up. So, but I had to let people know that that's how I operate. That I may not, if you ask me how I'm doing, I'm not going to lie and say I'm doing well if I'm not. But if you don't ask, it's not a topic that I'm just going to bring up. So we got to hold some responsibility too. We got to teach the people around us how they can support us and
Mhm.
how they can engage with us.
That's good. And we've talked about this before, and disclaimer is not an actual term, but it's something I came up with as far as what I call performance exhaustion. Something that men deal with, and instead of like you said, dealing with what's going on, digging deeper into the work. Accolades. Let me make more money. Let me get another award. Let me build another, I don't know, franchise location, or maybe they have vices where it's partners all over the place, or
Right.
excessive substance usage. Like it can show up in so many ways, and they could be working on fumes. And like you said, looking at it, it may seem like, oh man, they're killing it. He's got the bag, he's got the car, he has the house, but it could be a way of him compensating, overcompensating, even for those other areas within himself that may be in a deficit, or feeling like if people really found out how I really feel about myself, then I'm a fraud. Even though to the world, I'm him, you know, but when you are at home and those blinds are closed, like what battles are you fighting mentally? Like, are there times you lay in the bed and you're just like, oh man, do I have the juice today to really do this? Can I replicate what I accomplished yesterday? Or because you're running from that voice in your head, let me get another deal, let me close another contract, let me make another 10K to silence the scream.
Yeah, and I think that I feel like you get to a point where, especially I would imagine somebody that has accumulated as much as some of the people that we've been talking about,
Hmm.
you get to a point where it's like, what else can I do?
Hmm.
And what's the point of this all? Like, I'm doing all of these things to say that I'm doing it, but what is the point? What is my purpose? And I feel like as I get older, I question myself with that. Like, when I'm really hustling and doing stuff, like, what am I actually doing this for?
Yeah.
Is this something that I really want to do? Or is this something that people tell me that I'm supposed to do? If I'm really tall, have my whole family, my whole life told me that I need to play basketball. So I play basketball. Or if I'm really built that you need to play football, so you play football. Like, and I may not even like it. I may be good at it and I may be effective at it, but I may not like it. And that's why, even with me personally, I'm in the restaurant industry. I like
Yeah.
owning restaurants, but I'm not passionate about owning a restaurant. Like, I really enjoy the business and I think that I'm good at it,
Hmm.
but I'm passionate about teaching. I'm passionate about being a therapist. So no matter how many restaurants I open, I'm always going to have to do the things that I'm passionate about because it'll help give me the fuel to continue to do the things that I'm good at that's making me money. Teaching don't really make me a lot of money, but it fills my cup. And I think that a
Yeah.
lot of people do things that really don't make them happy. And then they just end up getting into kind of a dark place where I don't know who I am. I don't know what makes me happy. I don't know why I'm doing this.
Hmm.
Everybody around me, they don't understand me. They don't know me. I don't have any real people around me, no real friends. And it just becomes like a pit where I can't get out. Like,
Yeah.
there's no other way out.
Yeah. And so, how do you, as a man, Antoine, managing those expectations of, I do this to keep the lights on, but I love being in the classroom. And like you said, finding that balance. So how do you manage those expectations of doing what I gotta do to eat, but doing what I do over here to live? Because this is the difference between doing what you do to eat, but doing this because, and I don't mean live like live to eat, but live because it makes me feel present and meaningful.
Right. I think for me, I would say about 2 years ago, I really adopted a mindset 2 years ago. And the mindset that I adopted was I am going to start focusing less on making more money, and I'm going to start focusing more on having money to do the things that I really like to do. And those
like
two
that.
things, it sounds like the same thing. Like, okay, so you're going to focus less on making more money, but then you're going to focus on making money to do the things you want to do. Like, that's the same thing. But for me, it's different because when I was focused on making more money, I was doing things that was making me more money, but I was less happy. When I started focusing on, okay, I'm going to make money to do what makes me happy, even if that means I make less money. I made less money in 2024 than 2023, but I was happier in 2024. I really did the things that I wanted to do, and I didn't have regret about them. So I think that sometimes we're so focused on, I don't want to say the wrong thing because different things motivate different people. But for me, I was focused on the wrong thing. And I
Yeah,
was
I
really,
mean, we're in a society that's focused on the bag.
yeah, we focus on the bag, but then it's like we have to come to the realization within ourselves that we all know that people that do accumulate a lot of wealth are not happier generally. It's not like money makes you happy. I'm not saying that they're not happy, but the
But it can make a
money,
different set of memories.
it can make a different set of memories and it
Yes,
can create a more comfortable life. But when you think
yes,
about the things that like really make you happy, I can be broke and be uncomfortable, but be happy because of the people around me and my sense of community. Like, though the things that really make me happy are the relationships that I have around me and the things that I really enjoy doing. And I think for me, I'm really focused on, I truly believe the money will come. I'm like,
yeah,
Antoine, keep chasing your passion, keep chasing the things that you're interested in, the things that the things that you could do for free. And I always say this, that like I could teach for free. The fact that I get paid to pour into somebody else is like a blessing for me. Like
mhm,
it literally is like I'm getting paid to do something that I would literally do for free as a volunteer. And I feel like that kind of mindset has been helpful for me and just my mental health. Because if not, I would be on a track to, oh, I got to open 10 restaurants, even if I don't have no time to myself, or if I'm not, enjoying myself, if I'm not passionate about it, if I dread waking up every day, as long as I can say, oh, I got 10 restaurants, that's that social pressure. And I just want to
yeah,
break that cycle.
yeah. A lot of people are doing things for the gram,
For
to
the
flex,
gram.
and you're doing it for people that a lot of them don't even really like you like that anyway. So it's like, what is the point of doing all this? And then you're mentally drained, you're tired. If you do have a passion, you don't have the energy to show up for that or yourself because you are so depleted into something that is not feeding your soul. It's not you don't feel like you're making a real contribution other than you flexing and moving the algorithm. And I really believe like there's some things that may occur in the next year or so that will flip people's worlds upside down when it comes to the algorithm. Because if we see constantly changing it, and you've seen it, Antoine, the mentality of people. The last time we had that outage with Facebook and Instagram,
Yeah.
people lost their mind
They
because they're
lost.
like, "Oh, messing up my money." Da, da, da. And I'm just like, if you're putting your be all into this, you've already lost
Yeah, because this could go at any time,
anytime.
or it could pivot, or it could change. There's so many things that could happen. And I do think, like your point is so well taken, that we do things for the gram, but that gratification is so short-lived. Like I could post something that I'm doing, um, and get a lot of likes, get a lot of comments, and I could be on a high that day. But then the next day, I go back to feeling the exact same. And I go back to the same emptiness. Like I did all of this, but I don't have a village around me. Or, what am I doing it for? Or I'm not really happy. I did it. I'm good
Mhm.
at it, but I'm not happy.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I think with our generation because we remember life before the internet when we used to go outside and play.
Yeah.
And so I think for our generation, when those things happen, like an outage, we're so unbothered because it was like, oh, I know how to entertain myself if
Right.
Instagram goes down. You know, I know how to go outside and be creative and just enjoy peace and quiet. But the generation after us and the one like going forward, they don't know life pre-internet or pre-gaming system or pre-social media, you know. And so I remember in college going to parties where people actually went to dance and the
Yeah.
guys talked to the girls, and the mall I grew up in Nashville, Hickory Hollow, they just tore it down this past week. It's when I was so sad because I was like, I grew up as a teenager in that mall because you
Mhm.
know, you go to the mall, you beg go to the mall on weekend, and then us being teenagers, girl, how many phone numbers did you get? Like, that was a thing. You might not actually call these people, but it's the fact, like, I got 3 numbers, I got 5.
And
And
they're
then
writing them down.
write it down. Like, yeah.
When we graduated from high school, we for real were thinking we were not going to see a lot of these people ever again in life.
Mhm.
Because when I graduated from high school, not everybody had a cell phone. And those of us that did have cell phones, it wasn't texting was, 10, 30 cents a text. You
Yeah.
could only talk on the phone after 9. So it was keeping in touch was very deliberate. And so
Writing letters. My
yeah,
grandma wrote letters, like
yeah. Payphones, the generation after us has grown up, and our generation, I would say, has really experienced probably some of the most technological changes, because when you look at some of the things that were very normal for us growing up and then looking at where it is now, like I can remember even as a kid growing up, the idea that I can play music from my phone and I'm not plugging anything up, that would be foreign.
mhm.
That would literally be foreign. Like I just was, as a kid, I was thinking like I'm always gonna need
Yeah.
CDs or
But see, the
cassette tapes.
thing, Antwan, like CDs, going to the record store, that was an experience.
Yeah.
Like digging, there was a guy I liked in college, and I think we talked for maybe on and off 2 years, like on and off 2 to 3 years right through there. And I remember when I remember our first like date, he had this gray pickup truck. It was like an old Nissan truck, but it was new, it was old. And he picked me up and we went to this record store on Noblesville Road called Phonolinux. And we dug through the crates and listening to old music. What we consider old music from like the 80s, 90s, just throwback
Mm.
70s, just real R&B, right? Like, oh, I found, Patrice Russian album, and anybody knows Music Soul Child covered some of her music, right? And
Mm.
just Music Soul Child, like all these vinyl records, and just that, and having the headphones on, and just the sound you would get from vinyl that's so different from a download or a CD, and just the time we had doing that. Or remember going to Sam Goody or somewhere and you find your favorite artist in the CD and you would buy it and open it up and see the photo shoot and reading the liner notes and listening to the music and looking at the spread that came with the CD, the packaging, that was an experience. Like,
Yeah,
so different.
I agree. That was an experience. And, even when we talk about just in the context of our mental health, when I was growing up as a young boy, some of the things that were normal then aren't as normal now. So I think that there's a lot of things that the generation from behind us lost, but they also gained a lot of things.
Mhm.
Growing up, bullying was a norm, and bullying was not seen as the bad thing that it's seen as today. Bullying was really seen as a rite of passage. It's
Yeah,
like,
but we
okay,
weren't like ending our lives
we weren't
over.
ending our lives over it because
Yeah.
we grew up very normalized to bullying, that like it's something that you're going to go through. There's going to be a bully at school. You got to stand up to the bully. You got to defend yourself against the bully. And the
There was
way
a
that we,
breaking point with the bully too, though.
huh?
There was always a breaking point.
Yeah, yeah. But the generation now, have grown up in an environment where they're not as tolerant about bullying, and it's not like a rite of passage, like it's not something that I have to go through. So I think that can create a different dynamic, because if I'm experiencing something that I don't have to experience or that I shouldn't experience, I can't handle this. I can't take this.
Yeah. But I think, Antoine, as we begin to wrap up, experiencing those things, we handled life now as adults differently, because everybody does
Correct.
remember that one bully, from school. And usually you would fight the bully and then you would end up being friends, or the bully ended up not graduating anyway because the school was tired. There was always something. Like, it wasn't just an ongoing thing. And to the point now, with that, if we're going to talk about that for a little bit, it's different for teenagers because they have social media and it turns into cyberbullying, and it can go on and
Yep.
on and on. And even if you transfer schools, that still follows you. So even the depths of that is not even the same from a societal standpoint. But it's just like, we were told, hey, if they hit you, you hit them back. Don't come crying home. But now you have to worry about, you deal with the bully. They could come and light the whole school up. Like, it's
Yep.
things we didn't have to think about. It wasn't a thing. And so in context, it's just a very different time now when in terms of that.
Very different time.
Yeah.
Very different time. I am happy to have grown up in the time that I grew up in.
Well, thank you, Jesus, because I don't think I can make it. Like, I don't. It's thank you, Lord. He knew.
He knew.
Yes. Yes. And so as we begin to wrap up here, we just touched on some major points here, but my co-host, she does have a question for you as we begin to wrap up.
Before we wrap up, what are your key takeaways from our conversation, and where can our listeners find you on social media?
Hey, co-host. I love the level up. Love the level up. I think that some of the key takeaways is, especially to all of the Black men that may have access to this conversation, either directly or indirectly, is don't suffer in silence. I think that we have been socially conditioned to suffer in silence, but that is not what we have to do. And I think that is just kind of an overarching message that if you're going through something, talk to somebody, communicate with somebody, create that safe space with somebody. When I'm working with clients, that's one of the things that I'm always asking any client, but especially Black men. If something good happens to you, because we always focus on the bad things, but if something good happens to you, who are the first 3 people you're going to tell? That's your support system. That's your go-to. Let's really, those are the people that are the cornerstones of your life. Let's focus on that. So that would be my first point, not to suffer in silence. My second point would be kind of like what I talked about throughout the conversation, is that we all have a responsibility to create more spaces for Black men to express and engage. And I think that it can't just be Black men that do it amongst themselves. It's the people that love us, the people that are in relationships with us, the people that care about us. Everybody needs to be a part of that process. And if I express myself to you, I need to feel accepted. I need to feel safe. So we all have a responsibility to create that safe space. In terms of where to find me, you can find me first at Eggs Up Grow Moral. So we're on Instagram, EUG_moral. Also, the Aiken Foundation is also our nonprofit. So that's going to be at the Aiken Foundation. And then my personal handle is AG Aiken.
Yes. And I need you all to go follow the Aiken Foundation on Instagram, make a donation, and or come to the event, buy a ticket and come to the events. We want to push those sales. We need the people to pull up because it is a great time. It's a good time. So
Pull up.
for sure. And I hope you all got something from this conversation. Be sure to follow me across all the platforms there. Be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe. Tune in next week. The Ponders are coming back. We're going to continue our conversation on love and marriage. It is a conversation you don't want to miss. And be sure to slide on over to the YouTube channel and catch the replay of Heart and Soul after this, of course. With that being said, thank you, Antwan. This has been another conversation of the Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast where innovators and critics connect. And I'll see you in the next one. Good night. Bye-bye.
Wow. What a conversation. Gentlemen, if you enjoyed tonight's convo or would like to see more episodes like this, drop it in the comments below. Be sure to tag a brother and subscribe. Be safe. Be blessed. Good night.
Thank you again to my guests, and also thank you for joining us on this episode of the Speaker Podcast. If you were late catching the conversation, no worries. Slide over to my YouTube channel and catch the replay. Be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Help keep the Speaker Podcast ad-free. Hit the link below and buy me a coffee. Your support keeps the podcast free of interruptions while bringing you more impactful conversations.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Speak Her Podcast. Be sure to follow Camille on Instagram at camille.essick, Facebook at the Speak Her Podcast, or www.camilleessick.com.